Kang Dae-sung stood in his dead grandfather's garage, surrounded by 70 years of collected junk. Rusted tools hung from pegboards. Old car parts filled wooden shelves. The smell of motor oil and dust filled his nose, the same smell he remembered from childhood visits to this place. 3 months had passed since Grandpa Byung-chul died in his sleep at 91 years old. The old man had lived alone in this small house in Busan for as long as anyone could remember. He never talked about his past before 1953. He never explained why he knew so much about machines and engines. He just fixed things. Cars, televisions, washing machines, anything mechanical that broke in the neighborhood came to Byung-chul's garage. Now the garage belonged to Dae-sung, along with all its mysteries. Dae-sung was 28 years old, a struggling mechanic who worked at a repair shop across town. He had inherited his grandfather's skill with machines, but not his patience. Where Byung-chul could spend hours quietly studying a broken engine, Dae-sung preferred to work fast and move on to the next job. Today he had come to clean out the garage. His mother wanted to sell the property, and someone needed to sort through the mess first. He pulled a heavy toolbox away from the back wall, and something caught his eye. Behind where the toolbox had sat for decades, the wall looked different. The concrete was smoother there, newer somehow, despite being covered for so long. Dae-sung knocked on it. The sound was hollow. He found a crowbar and started prying at the edges. After 20 minutes of work, a section of the wall came loose. Behind it was a metal door, smooth and silver, with no handle or lock that he could see. His heart was beating fast now. What had his grandfather hidden back here? In his pocket, Dae-sung carried an old key that Byung-chul had given him years ago. The old man had pressed it into his palm during their last conversation, just days before he died. "Keep this safe," Byung-chul had said. "You will know when to use it." The key was strange. It was not made of metal or plastic. It felt almost warm in his hand, and it seemed to glow faintly in the dim garage light. Dae-sung held the key near the silver door. A panel he had not noticed before slid open, revealing a slot that matched the key perfectly. He inserted it and turned. The door opened without a sound. Behind it was an elevator. This made no sense. The garage had no basement. Dae-sung had played here as a child, and he knew every corner of the property. There was no underground level, no hidden space, just dirt and rock beneath the concrete floor. But the elevator was real. He stepped inside. The interior was like nothing he had ever seen. The walls were smooth and gray, covered with symbols that looked almost like writing but in no language he recognized. A single button glowed blue on a small panel. Dae-sung pressed it. The elevator dropped fast, faster than any elevator should move. His stomach lurched. The numbers on a small display climbed impossibly high. 10 meters, 50 meters, 200 meters. The elevator kept going down. When it finally stopped, Dae-sung had descended nearly a kilometer beneath his grandfather's garage. The doors opened onto a vast underground chamber. It was bigger than a football stadium, carved out of solid rock, and lit by strips of soft white light embedded in the ceiling. The air was cool and clean, nothing like the musty garage above. And in the center of the chamber sat a spaceship. Dae-sung's legs felt weak. He walked toward it slowly, unable to believe what his eyes were showing him. The ship was sleek and silver, shaped like a curved blade. It had no wings, no visible engines, no windows. It was beautiful and terrifying and absolutely impossible. A holographic projector activated as he approached. Light gathered in the air and formed into a familiar shape. Grandpa Byung-chul stood before him, young and strong, wearing strange clothes that Dae-sung did not recognize. But the face was the same. Those kind eyes, that gentle smile. "If you are watching this," the hologram said, "then I am dead, and you have found what I have hidden for 70 years. Dae-sung could not speak. He could only stare. "My name was not always Kang Byung-chul," the hologram continued. "I was born Keth Varyan, prince of the Keth Empire, on a world that no longer exists. My people were destroyed by the Vel hegemony, a civilization that conquers and consumes all others. I escaped with this ship and crashed on Earth in 1953. I built a life here. I fell in love. I had a family. I became human in all the ways that matter. The hologram's expression grew serious. I hid this ship because the hegemony is still searching for me. They want what I took from them. There is a device aboard this vessel called the Seed of Sovereignty. It is an ancient artifact that grants any species legal claim to galactic territory. With it, the hegemony controls who may travel the stars and who must stay bound to their home world. Byung-chul's eyes seemed to look directly at Dae-sung. You must never activate the ship's beacon. The signal will reach across the galaxy. They will come. They will find Earth. And they will destroy everything I learned to love. The hologram flickered. I am sorry to leave you with this burden, my grandson. I hoped this day would never come. But if it has, remember what I taught you. The best mechanics do not just fix machines, they understand them, they respect them, they make them work better than before. The hologram faded. Dae-sung was alone in the vast chamber with his grandfather's impossible ship. He walked closer, running his hand along the smooth hull. It was warm to the touch, almost alive. A panel opened at his approach, revealing a cockpit filled with glowing controls and screens. He climbed inside, just to look. He was not going to touch anything. He knew better than that, but one of the consoles was already active. It displayed symbols he could not read, arranged around a single large button that pulsed with red light. Something about it drew him forward. His hand moved before his brain could stop it. Dae-sung pressed the button. The ship hummed. Every console lit up at once. A sound like a heartbeat filled the chamber, deep and powerful. On the main screen, a message appeared in symbols that slowly translated themselves into Korean. Beacon activated. Signal transmitting. Dae-sung's blood went cold. He pressed the button again, trying to cancel it. Nothing happened. He pressed every other button he could find. The ship ignored him. Transmission complete. Awaiting response. For a long moment, there was silence. Dae-sung stood in the cockpit, breathing hard, praying that nothing would happen. Maybe the signal was too old. Maybe no one was listening anymore. Maybe his grandfather had worried about nothing. Then the screen changed. Response received. 3 vessels inbound. Estimated arrival. 6 hours. Somewhere far above, in the night sky over Busan, 3 points of light appeared where no stars had been before. They were moving toward Earth at impossible speed. Dae-sung had just activated his grandfather's garage elevator, and he had accidentally started a galactic war. Dae-sung called the only person he trusted. Park Yuna answered on the 3rd ring, her voice sleepy and annoyed. It is 2 a.m, she said. Someone better be dying. I need you to come to my grandfather's house, Dae-sung said. His voice was shaking. Right now, please. Yuna had been his friend since childhood. They had grown up on the same street, played in the same parks, studied at the same schools. She was 26 years old now, an aerospace engineer working for a company that designed satellite systems. She was the smartest person Dae-sung knew. What is wrong? She asked, suddenly alert. Are you hurt? I cannot explain on the phone. You have to see it. 40 minutes later, Yuna stood in the underground chamber, staring at the alien spacecraft. Her face was pale. Her hands trembled as she reached out to touch the hull. This is not possible, she whispered. I know. Your grandfather was an alien. I know. And you activated a beacon that is bringing more aliens to Earth. I know. Yuna turned to him. Her eyes were wide, but her voice was steady. This was what Dae-sung loved about her. No matter how strange the situation, she always found her balance. How long do we have? She asked. The screen said 6 hours. That was almost an hour ago. Yuna walked around the ship, examining every detail. She asked Dae-sung to replay his grandfather's holographic message. She studied the controls, took photos with her phone, and muttered to herself as she worked through the problem. We need to tell someone, she finally said. The government, the military, someone with resources. And say what? That my grandfather was a space prince and I accidentally invited his enemies to dinner? Yes, exactly that. Yuna pulled out her phone. I know someone at the Korean Aerospace Research Institute. He can get us connected to the right people. The next 4 hours were chaos. Phone calls led to video conferences. Video conferences led to military officers arriving at the garage in unmarked vehicles. Scientists came with equipment that they did not have time to use. Government officials argued about protocols that had never been designed for this situation. Dae-sung sat in the corner of his grandfather's garage, watching it all unfold. He felt useless. He was just a mechanic who had pressed the wrong button. Then the ships arrived. They appeared in the sky above Busan, 3 massive vessels that blocked out the stars. Each one was larger than an aircraft carrier, dark and angular, covered with weapons that even the military officers recognized as dangerous. They hung in the air without any visible means of support, silent and terrifying. Every screen on Earth broadcast the same message. It came in every language simultaneously, as if the aliens had been listening to human communication and learned to speak everything at once. People of Earth, we are the Vel hegemony. We come seeking the traitor Keth Varian and the property he stole from our civilization. You have 6 of your hours to surrender both. If you do not, we will take them by force. The message repeated, again and again. The world panicked. News channels showed people running through streets. Governments declared states of emergency. Airports closed. Stock markets crashed. Humanity had just discovered they were not alone in the universe, and their first cosmic neighbors were demanding something they did not have. Except Dae-sung did have it. He just did not know what it was. Yuna found him in the underground chamber, staring at his grandfather's ship. They want something called the Seed of Sovereignty, she said. Your grandfather mentioned it in his message. Do you have any idea where it might be? Dae-sung shook his head. He never showed me anything like that. He never even told me he was an alien. Think. Where did he keep his most valuable things? 2. Dae-sung thought about his grandfather. The old man had been simple in his habits. He wore the same clothes for decades. He ate the same meals. He kept no valuables that Dae-sung could remember, except one thing, his watch. Dae-sung said slowly. He always wore this old pocket watch. He said his father gave it to him, and he would give it to me someday. He was wearing it when he died. Where is it now? In a box upstairs, with his other personal things. They rushed up to the house. Dae-sung found the box in his grandfather's bedroom. A simple cardboard container filled with photographs, letters, and a silver pocket watch that had stopped working years ago. He held the watch in his hands. It looked ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Open it, Yuna said. Dae-sung pressed the button on top. The cover clicked open, revealing the clock face inside. The hands were frozen at 3:47. Then the watch began to glow. Light poured out of it, golden and warm. The clock face dissolved, revealing a small object hidden inside. It was a crystal, no bigger than Dae-sung's thumbnail, filled with swirling colors that seemed to contain entire galaxies. The moment his finger touched it, pain shot through his arm. The crystal melted into his skin, disappearing completely. Golden light traced patterns across his hand, up his arm, across his chest. It moved like fire, burning and healing at the same time. Dae-sung screamed. When the light faded, his skin looked normal again. But he could feel something inside him now. Something alive and ancient and powerful. What happened? Yuna demanded. What was that? I do not know. Dae-sung looked at his hands. They looked the same, but they felt different. I think it went inside me. The door burst open. Military officers rushed in, led by a man in a general's uniform. His name was Oh Tae-hyun, and he had been commanding the emergency response since the ships arrived. We have a problem, General Oh said. The aliens are demanding to speak with whoever possesses the seed. They say they can sense it on the planet, and they know it has bonded to a human host. Bonded? Dae-sung asked. Their transmission says the seed chooses its bearer. Once it bonds, it cannot be removed without killing the host. General Oh looked at Dae-sung with a mixture of pity and calculation. I am guessing that host is you. Dae-sung felt sick. What do they want? They want you to surrender yourself, They say they will extract the seed and leave Earth in peace. Extract means kill, Yuna said. You just said it cannot be removed without killing him. I know what I said. General O's face was hard. But we need to consider every option. Billions of lives are at stake. Dae-sung understood. The general was asking if he was willing to die to save the world. Before he could answer, the holographic projector in the room activated on its own. A figure appeared. Not his grandfather this time, but an alien. It stood over 2 meters tall, with 4 arms and a face covered in eyes. Its voice was deep and vibrating. I am Ambassador Vel Torin of the Hegemony, the alien said. I come with an offer. Surrender the seed bearer, and Earth will be absorbed peacefully into the Hegemony as a tributary world. Refuse, and we will cleanse this planet of all life. Dae-sung stood up. He did not know where his courage came from, but he spoke before anyone could stop him. My grandfather took your seed because you destroyed his people. Why should I trust you to keep any promise? The alien's many eyes focused on him. You are the bearer. Interesting. A primitive species, claiming the inheritance of the Keth. The irony is amusing. Answer my question. Your grandfather was a thief and a traitor. He stole what belonged to the Hegemony and fled like a coward. We have searched 70 years for what he took. Now we have found it. The ambassador's voice hardened. You have 3 days. Choose wisely. The hologram vanished. 3 days. 72 hours to decide the fate of the world, and the seed inside Dae-sung's chest pulsed with a light that only he could see, showing him visions of empires and wars and a history that stretched back 1,000,000 years. His grandfather had been a prince, and now, somehow, Dae-sung was an emperor. The next 48 hours changed Dae-sung's life forever. Scientists examined him with every machine they could find. The seed had merged with his biology completely, woven into his DNA like it had always belonged there. Doctors confirmed what the alien said. Removing it would kill him instantly. The device appears to be some kind of biological computer, a researcher explained. It is storing information, processing data, and communicating with your nervous system. We have never seen anything like it. Can I access that information? Dae-sung asked. We do not know how. It seems to respond to your emotional state. When you are calm, it shows you visions. When you are stressed, it goes quiet. Dae-sung tried to relax. He closed his eyes and let his mind empty, the way his grandfather had taught him when working on difficult repairs. Do not force the solution, Byung-chul always said. Let the machine show you what it needs. The visions came. He saw the Keth Empire in its glory, a civilization that spanned 1,000 worlds. They were builders and artists, creating wonders that lasted millennia. The seed of sovereignty had been their greatest achievement, a device that could legitimize any species' claim to galactic territory under ancient laws that every civilization recognized. Then he saw the war. The hegemony came with fleets that darkened the skies. They destroyed world after world, killing billions, erasing an entire culture from existence. The last Keth emperor gave the seed to his young son and put him on a ship. Run, the emperor said. Survive. Rebuild. But Keth Varian, the boy who would become Kang Byung-chul, had not rebuilt. He had hidden. He had made a quiet life on a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. He had loved and been loved. He had chosen peace over revenge, and now his grandson carried the weight of his inheritance. The holographic projector activated again. This time, the message came from a different source. A woman appeared, beautiful in an alien way. With silver skin and eyes like stars, she wore robes of deep purple, and a crown of light floated above her head. I am Keth Nora, she said. Empress of the Keth remnant, daughter of the last emperor, sister to the prince who fled to your world. Dae-sung stared at her. My grandfather had a sister? He did. I was captured during the fall of our empire. I have been a prisoner of the hegemony for 70 years, kept alive because they believed I might know where my brother had gone. When your beacon activated, They brought me out of my cell to watch their victory. Her image flickered with static. She was transmitting from far away, probably from one of the hegemony ships. But I am not calling to celebrate their victory, Keth Nora continued. I am calling to tell you the truth. The seed has chosen you. By the blood of my brother, and by the ancient laws of the galaxy, you are now the rightful emperor of the Keth. And as emperor, you have the power to declare Earth as Keth Restoration Territory. What does that mean? It means Earth becomes sovereign space under galactic law. The hegemony cannot attack a sovereign world without declaring formal war. And formal war requires the approval of the Galactic Council, where many species oppose the hegemony in secret. Her eyes burned with fierce hope. You can protect your world, nephew. You can do what my brother was too afraid to do. The transmission ended. Guards from the hegemony must have discovered her. General O had been watching from the corner of the room. Is this true? He asked. Can galactic law protect us? I do not know, Dae-sung admitted. I do not know anything about galactic law. I fix cars for a living. Yuna stepped forward. She had been researching constantly since the ships arrived, reading every piece of information the seed showed Dae-sung and organizing it into something useful. It is true, she said. The seed contains records of galactic governance. There is a council of spacefaring species that maintains peace through ancient agreements. The hegemony is powerful, but they follow the rules because breaking them would turn every other species against them. So if I declare Earth as Keth territory, they cannot legally attack us? Correct. But you would need to address the Galactic Council directly. The hegemony controls the communication channels to the Council, but the seed might be able to bypass them. Dae-sung felt the weight of the decision pressing on him. He was not a leader. He was not a politician. He was just a mechanic who had pressed the wrong button, but his grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. The best mechanics do not just fix machines, they understand them. They make them work better than before. Maybe leadership was the same. Maybe you did not have to know everything. You just had to understand the problem and find a way to fix it. I will do it, Dae-sung said. Tell me how to reach the council. The seed responded to his decision. Information flooded into his mind, showing him how to access the galactic communication network, how to broadcast a message that every civilization in the galaxy would hear. An hour later, Dae-sung stood in front of a camera that would transmit his image across the stars. Yuna stood beside him, offering silent support. General O had arranged for the message to be broadcast on Earth as well, so humanity could see their unlikely champion speak. Dae-sung took a deep breath and began. My name is Kang Dae-sung. My grandfather was Keth Varian, Prince of the Keth Empire. He carried the seed of sovereignty to Earth 70 years ago and hid it from those who destroyed his people. Now the seed has chosen me, and by the ancient laws of the galaxy, I claim the title of Keth Emperor. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The words came slowly, but they were honest. I did not ask for this. I did not want this. I am not a warrior or a king. I am a mechanic. I fix broken things, but the hegemony has threatened to destroy my world, and I cannot let that happen. The seed pulsed in his chest, giving him strength. By my authority as Emperor of the Keth, I declare Earth as Keth Restoration Territory. This world is sovereign space, protected by galactic law. Any attack on Earth is an attack on the Keth Empire, and a violation of the ancient agreements. He looked directly at the camera. I know the Keth are gone. I know our empire fell long ago. But my grandfather taught me that nothing is ever truly broken beyond repair. He built a life here among humans. And they accepted him. They loved him. They became his family. Dae-sung felt tears building in his eyes. He let them come. Earth is not a powerful world. We have no great fleets or ancient technologies, but we have something the hegemony does not understand. We take in those who are lost. We give homes to those who have none. We fix what others throw away. He spread his arms. If there are others out there, other species who have suffered under the hegemony, other refugees searching for safety, I offer you the same thing my grandfather found here. I offer you a home. The transmission ended. Dae-sung stood in silence, wondering if anyone had heard, wondering if it mattered. Then the responses began to arrive. 3 species answered first. The Kira, a machine consciousness that had been hunted by the hegemony for centuries. The Luma, a peaceful people whose worlds had been conquered and exploited. The Torvan, warriors who had resisted the hegemony and paid with everything they had. They pledged their allegiance to the new Keth Empire. More answers came. Dozens of species. Then hundreds. All sending messages of support. Some offered ships. Some offered technology. All of them said the same thing. We heard you. We are coming. Dae-sung had gone on camera as a mechanic with no army and no hope. He had ended the transmission as an emperor, with allies he had never met and a war he had never wanted. The galaxy was watching. The hegemony was furious, and the real battle was about to begin. The hegemony responded within hours. Ambassador Veltorin appeared on every screen on Earth, his many eyes burning with cold fury. The human who calls himself emperor has made a fatal mistake, the alien declared. By claiming the authority of the dead Keth Empire, he has created an illegal state. The hegemony does not recognize this claim. Under Section 47 of the Ancient Accords, we have the right to dismantle false sovereignties by force. The legal trick was clever. They were not attacking Earth. They were attacking the illegal Keth restoration. The difference existed only in words, but words were enough to justify what came next. The 3 hegemony vessels moved into attack formation. More ships appeared in the sky, smaller and faster. Dozens of them pouring out of the larger vessels like angry insects. They began to strike. Earth's defenses were primitive by galactic standards. Missiles and aircraft rose to meet the invaders, but they were swatted aside like flies. The aliens targeted military bases first, then communication centers, then power plants. They were systematic and efficient. Dae-sung watched the destruction from the underground hangar. He felt helpless. His speech had brought allies, but those allies were light years away. They could not arrive in time to save anyone. We have to do something, he said. Yuna looked up from the console she had been studying. Over the past 3 days, she had learned more about the Keth ship than Dae-sung could have learned in a lifetime. She was a fast learner. Your grandfather's ship is still functional, she said. The seed has been keeping it in perfect condition for 70 years. It is the most advanced piece of technology on this planet. Can it fight? It can do more than fight. According to these records, it was a royal vessel, designed for the prince of an empire. It has weapons, shields, and engines that nothing on Earth can match. Admiral Choi Soo-min arrived at the hangar that evening. She was a small woman with hard eyes and a reputation for never backing down from a fight. She had been given command of Earth's defense forces, such as they were. We are losing, she said bluntly. Our weapons cannot penetrate their shields. Our aircraft cannot match their speed. In 12 hours, they will have destroyed every major military installation on the planet. Then we attack their ships directly. Dae-sung said. With what? He pointed at his grandfather's vessel. With this, Admiral Choi studied the alien ship. You know how to fly it? It is no. Group. No. But I think it knows how to fly itself. It responds to me. Because of the seed, that is not exactly reassuring. I know. But it is all we have. The launch was terrifying. Dae-sung sat in the pilot's seat, his hands gripping controls that seemed to move on their own. The ship rose through the tunnel his grandfather had built, emerging into the night sky over Busan. The hegemony noticed immediately. A dozen smaller vessels broke away from their attack runs and converged on his position. The Keth ship responded before Dae-sung could even think. Shields flared to life, absorbing weapons fire that would have destroyed any human aircraft. The engines screamed, and suddenly they were moving faster than anything Dae-sung had ever experienced. He was not flying the ship. The ship was flying itself, using his instincts and reflexes as a guide. When he wanted to dodge, it dodged. When he wanted to attack, weapons fired. It was like the vessel had become an extension of his body. The battle in the sky was desperate. Daesung's single ship against dozens of hegemony fighters. He destroyed 3, then 5, then 10, but more kept coming. And behind them, the massive warships were moving into position to fire their main weapons. "You cannot win this fight alone," Yuna said through the communication system. She had stayed in the hangar, monitoring the situation from the ship's secondary console. "You need help." "Help is coming," Daesung said. "I just need to buy time." But time was running out. The lead hegemony warship began to glow, its primary weapon charging for a strike that would devastate half the continent. Then new contacts appeared on his sensors. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel, arriving from every direction. The Kira sent machine vessels, silver and angular. The Luma sent medical ships with defensive shields. The Torven sent warships bristling with weapons. More species arrived. The Ven, shapeshifters who had been hiding for generations. The Morrow, pacifists who had finally decided that some things were worth fighting for. Dozens of civilizations, united by nothing except their hatred of the hegemony and their hope in a mechanic's words. The battle shifted. The hegemony vessels found themselves surrounded. Their superior technology meant nothing against overwhelming numbers. One by one, the smaller fighters fell. The warships began to retreat, but the cost was terrible. Allied ships burned in the darkness. Lives were lost. Beings from worlds Daesung had never seen, dying to protect a planet they had never visited. "Why are they doing this?" he asked Yuna. "They do not know us. They do not owe us anything, because you offered them something they had not felt in centuries," she replied. "Hope." The battle paused. Both sides pulled back, regrouping, counting their losses. The hegemony still had more ships, but their confidence was shaken. For the first time in memory, their enemies had fought back together. Admiral Choi's voice came through the communication system. "We have maybe 3 days before they bring reinforcements. Whatever we are going to do, we need to do it now." Daesung returned to the underground hangar. His body ached from the stress of combat, but his mind was racing. There had to be a way to end this without more death. Yuna met him at the ship's ramp. She was holding a stack of papers covered in handwritten notes. "Your grandfather left more than just a ship," she said. "He left blueprints. I have been studying them since you launched." "Blueprints for what?" "I thought they were technical drawings at first, specifications for machines and systems, but they are not." She spread the papers on a workbench. "They are maps, locations spread across the galaxy." Daesung looked at the documents he had seen his whole life. The mysterious drawings that had decorated his grandfather's workshop. He had never understood them. "What are they showing?" "The hegemony's power comes from a network of ancient devices called suppression relays. They broadcast a signal that limits other species' technology, keeps it from developing past a certain point. That is why humanity never developed faster than light travel on our own. That is why our allies are still using weapons that are centuries old." Daesung understood. The hegemony did not conquer the galaxy through strength. They conquered it by making everyone else weaker. "Exactly. And your grandfather found the relay locations. He mapped every single one before he escaped." Hope surged in Daesung's chest. "If we destroy the relays, the suppression field goes down. Every species gets their full technology back. The hegemony loses their advantage completely. It would not win the war, but it would make the war fair." Yuna pointed to the maps. "There are 12 relays. They are spread across the galaxy, heavily defended. We would need to hit them all at the same time. We have allies now, dozens of species. We would need every single one of them, and we would need to coordinate perfectly. One failure, and the hegemony rebuilds the network." Daesung looked at the maps. 12 targets, 12 impossible missions. 3 days to plan and execute the most complex military operation in galactic history. He smiled. It was the same smile his grandfather used to wear when facing a machine everyone else had given up on. "Then we better get started," he said. The war nobody wanted was about to enter its final phase, and a mechanic from Busan was going to fix what the galaxy had considered broken beyond repair. 3 days of planning felt like 3 years. Dae-sung barely slept. He met with commanders from a dozen species, learning their strengths and weaknesses, figuring out how to combine forces that had never worked together before. The Kira machines were fast and precise but could not improvise. The Torvan warriors were brave but reckless. The Luma healers could keep wounded soldiers alive but had no combat experience. Every species brought something valuable and something lacking. Dae-sung approached the problem like he approached a broken engine. Find the parts that worked. Remove the parts that did not. Build something new from what remained. By the end of the 3rd day, he had a plan. 12 teams would strike 12 relays simultaneously. Each team combined species with complementary abilities. The Kira would handle navigation and timing. The Torvan would lead the assaults. The Luma would maintain the ships and crews under fire. Humans would coordinate communication between groups that had never trusted each other before. It was not a perfect plan. It relied on timing that left no room for error. One delayed attack, and the hegemony would have time to reinforce the remaining relays. But it was the only plan they had. The night before the assault, Yuna found Dae-sung in the underground hangar, sitting beside his grandfather's ship. He was reading the old man's notes, pages filled with technical drawings and personal thoughts. "You should be sleeping," she said. "I cannot sleep. I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong." Yuna sat beside him. "What did your grandfather write about?" Dae-sung showed her a passage. He wrote about Earth, about how strange it felt at first, how different humans were from the Keth. He could not understand why people fixed broken things instead of throwing them away. On his world, damaged machines were recycled. Broken relationships were abandoned. There was no concept of repair. And that changed? He wrote that humans taught him something his own people never understood. That fixing something is an act of love. That choosing to repair instead of replace means believing the thing is worth saving. Dae-sung closed the notebook. "He stayed on Earth because he fell in love with our stubbornness." Yuna smiled. "That stubbornness is about to start the biggest battle in galactic history. Are you scared?" "Terrified. But I would rather be terrified and fighting than safe and surrendered." The fleets launched at midnight. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, splitting into 12 groups and racing toward targets spread across the galaxy. The seed connected Dae-sung to all of them, letting him see through the eyes of every commander, feel the pulse of every engine. He led the most dangerous mission himself. The relay at the hegemony capital was the most heavily defended, surrounded by the largest fleet in the galaxy. If any target would fail, it would be this one. His ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the hegemony home system. The relay hung in space, like a metal moon, ancient and massive, pulsing with energy that kept half the galaxy weak. Around it, hundreds of hegemony warships waited. "All teams, report status," Dae-sung said through the seed's connection. One by one, the other commanders answered. Team 2 was in position. Team 5 was ready. Team 9 had engaged early and was fighting through defenders. Team 12 was having engine trouble but would arrive on time. "We go in 60 seconds, Dae-sung announced. His small fleet advanced. The hegemony responded with overwhelming force. Ships exploded around him. Friends he had made in the past 3 days died in flashes of light. But the fleet kept pushing forward. The relay grew larger in his view screen. Its defenses were incredible. Shields layered on shields. Weapons that could destroy a moon. No conventional attack could penetrate it. But Dae-sung's ship was not conventional. It was the royal vessel of the Keth Empire, designed to carry the seed of sovereignty into places no other ship could reach. He flew directly at the relay. Energy blasts bounced off his shields. Missiles detonated harmlessly against his hull. The ship seemed to know what he wanted before he even thought it. At the last moment, the relay's shields opened. Just for a second. Just enough for a single ship to pass through. Dae-sung was inside. The relay's core was beautiful in a terrible way. Crystal structures pulsed with light. Ancient machines hummed with power that had been flowing for 1,000,000 years. At the center, a single control node managed everything. Destroy the node, and the relay would fall. But before he could fire, a hegemony ship appeared beside him. It was smaller than his but faster, and it was piloted by someone who knew this space intimately. Commander Reth appeared on his view screen. The reptilian officer had led the hegemony forces from the beginning. His scales were scarred from decades of war. "You have come far for a primitive," Reth said, "but this is where your journey ends." The two ships circled each other inside the relay. Outside, battles raged at all 12 targets. The fate of the galaxy hung on what happened in the next few minutes. "You do not have to do this," Daesung said. "The hegemony has already lost. Even if you stop me, the other relays will fall. Your suppression network is finished. Then I will have the satisfaction of killing the pretender who destroyed everything we built." Reth attacked. His ship was faster, his weapons more precise. Daesung's shields buckled under the assault. Alarms screamed. The ship shook, but Daesung did not fight back. Instead, he opened a communication channel. "My grandfather ran from you," he said. "He hid for 70 years because he was afraid. But he also wrote something in his notes that I did not understand until now." Reth's attack paused. "What are you talking about?" "He wrote that the hegemony was not evil. They were just afraid of losing power, afraid of other species rising to challenge them. The relays were not built for conquest. They were built for security. You suppressed everyone else because you could not imagine a galaxy where you were not in control." The commander's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing about us. I know that fear makes people do terrible things. It made my grandfather run. It made your ancestors build these machines. But it does not have to keep controlling us." Daesung lowered his shields. His ship drifted in space, defenseless. "I am not going to fight you," he said. "I am going to destroy that control node whether you kill me or not. My ship will complete the mission with or without me alive. But I am offering you a choice." "What choice?" "Come with me. The galaxy is about to change. The hegemony's monopoly on power is ending. You can be part of what comes next, or you can die defending a system that was always going to fail." Reth was silent for a long moment. Behind them, the relay pulsed with ancient energy. "You are either the bravest being I have ever met," the commander said, "or the most foolish." "My grandfather always said those were the same thing." Reth laughed. It was a harsh sound, but there was something like respect in it. "I will not help you destroy the relay," he said. "But I will not stop you either. Do what you came to do, human. And pray you can build something better than what you are tearing down." Reth's ship pulled away. Daesung fired. The control node exploded. The relay shuddered, its ancient systems failing for the first time in a million years. Energy cascaded outward in waves. Across the galaxy, 11 other relays fell at almost the same moment. The suppression network collapsed. Technology that had been limited for generations suddenly worked at full power. Ancient weapons came online. Dormant ships activated. Defenses that had been useless against the hegemony were suddenly effective. The war did not end immediately. There were more battles, more negotiations, more difficult conversations. But the hegemony's advantage was gone. They could no longer win through superior technology alone. A new galactic council formed 6 months later. It included humans, Kira, Luma, Torvan, and dozens of other species. Even some hegemony reformers joined, species within the old empire who had never supported the suppression network. Daesung was offered a seat on the council. He refused. He returned to Busan instead, to his grandfather's garage, to the life he had always wanted. But the garage was different now. Ships from across the galaxy landed in the hills outside the city, bringing beings who had heard about the human mechanic who fixed things. They came with broken engines, damaged hulls, and systems that had not worked in centuries. Daesung fixed them all. Yuna led Earth's first interstellar engineering corps, training humans to work on alien technology. General O retired and wrote a book about the war that nobody wanted. Admiral Choi took command of Earth's new defense fleet, though she hoped she would never need to use it. 1 year after the war ended, Dae-sung sat in his grandfather's chair, working on a component from a Kira ship. The machine consciousness had asked him to look at it because human hands were gentler than their own mechanical limbs. A holographic message arrived. It was from Keth Nora, his grandfather's sister, now free from her hegemony prison. "Nephew," she said, "the council has named you a hero. They want to build statues in your honor." Dae-sung smiled. "Tell them to build hospitals instead. Or schools. Something useful. You are very strange for an emperor. I keep telling everyone I am not an emperor. I am just a mechanic." Keth Nora laughed. "That is exactly what Varian always said too." The message ended. Dae-sung returned to his work. Outside, the sun was setting over Busan. Ships moved across the sky, travelers from distant worlds visiting the small blue planet that had changed everything. Dae-sung thought about his grandfather. About a prince who became a mechanic. About a man who chose repair over revenge. Family over empire. "The best mechanics," he said quietly, "do not just fix machines. They make them work better than before." He picked up his tools and got back to work. There was always something broken that needed fixing.